Okay, welcome back to American Agenda. By this time next week, we're going to have a new candidate to add to the candidate calendar. Tomorrow, Vice President Kamala Harris is set to announce her choice for a running mate in Philadelphia. She's also campaigning all across the country this week, and so are the GOP candidates. Trump heads to Montana, and J.D. Vance is heading to a variety of battleground states. So here's a look at what they're up to this week. First up, former President Trump. As of now, he has one lone rally planned for Friday in Bozeman, Montana. Today, the 45th president has posted numerous times on Truth Social about the stock market and state of the economy. In one of his posts, he wrote, "Stock markets are crashing. Job numbers are terrible. We are heading to World War III, and we have two of the most incompetent leaders in history. This is not good." Up next, Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Tomorrow, he heads to Philadelphia. On Wednesday, he's in Detroit, Michigan, and then Eau Claire, Wisconsin. On Thursday, he goes to campaign in Raleigh, North Carolina. He, too, is talking about the economy. He posted to X recently, writing, "It's a national tragedy that the Kamala Biden inflation is making it harder for Americans to put food on the table for their families. If you work hard and play by the rules, you deserve an economy where things are affordable. President Trump will end this affordability crisis." On to Vice President Kamala Harris. All eyes are on her tomorrow in Philadelphia, where she'll announce her pick for a running mate. For the remainder of the week, Harris and her choice for VP will make several stops around the country in Wisconsin, Michigan, Raleigh, Savannah, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. Yesterday on X, she highlighted canceling student debt, writing, "President Biden and I canceled nearly $170 billion in student loan debt for almost 5 million people, and we're not stopping there. We will continue our fight to build an economy that works for every American." Okay, there you hear Kamala Harris. Once more, student loan debt forgiven. Just last week, though, North Carolina Senator Thom Tillis, he put out a press release stating the Biden administration has already implemented $620 billion of debt cancellation, and combined with newer cancellation plans, all of the White House's recent student debt cancellation policies, they're going to add up to $1.4 trillion to the national debt. Okay, let's continue the discussion. Joining us now is former National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign, Hogan Gidley, along with former California Republican Party chair and author of the great book, The Lessons of the American Civilization, Tom Del Vaccaro, and our friend, Melanie Collette, is back here in studio with us. Hogan, I want to talk more about the student loan debt. This has largely flown under the radar the last few days. That we have more from Senator Tillis in part of that press release last week, because he's reintroduced legislation to try and put a stop to it. It's called the Student Loan Accountability Act, legislation prohibiting the Biden administration from canceling student loan debts at the expense of millions of Americans who choose not to go to college or work diligently to pay off any student debt. He also goes on to write, 87% of North Carolinians do not have student loan debt, according to the Education Data Initiative. I mean, it's hard to come to grips, you know, to have to foot other people's college tuitions where you have no idea what they majored in, how hard they worked, you know, what they're getting out of it now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just have a war of words. You're not forgiving college loan debt. You're making someone who did not go to college pay for your bill.
That's right.
Pay for the loan you entered into. These things don't just vanish. They just go to somebody else to take care of. It's a misnomer on its face. It's offensive and it's immoral. The fact is, Joe Biden talks about loving all the norms and loving all the institutions that make this country great. The Supreme Court told him he could not do this. He said, you know what, we're going to go around the Supreme Court. Who cares? Because he doesn't care anything about these institutions that he claims love and affection for. The fact is, these students willingly entered into an agreement with banks or whatever other organizations or institutions. They owe this money. They are the ones responsible for paying it back. And to say another person in this country, whether they paid off their loans or didn't go to college at all, is forced to pay for your agreement is absolutely insane.
Tom, isn't this not a slippery slope? When does it stop? It becomes the norm now. Hey, I'm going to go to college. I'll get bailed out eventually. This doesn't stop if it goes through.
No, absolutely it doesn't. And back to this point about they're the saviors of democracy or our republic. Well, if you attack one of the most important institutions in American history, the Supreme Court, and defy them, by definition, you're not. and they are nationalizing everything. And what I mean by that is no one's responsible for any debt of their own. The government will bail you out. We bailed out big businesses in 2008. They want to bail out the student loans. There is no end to this. And this is why we have $2 trillion deficits. This is why total government spending is over 35% of the economy. This is why these massive debts and national debt is leading to inflation. And it is that inflation that is harming people. So on the one hand, you can give some amount to some people, but the total picture is what's causing the inflation, and then the Fed overreaction, and now the stock market crashing. This is all in an effort to please some people while buying their votes, and it must come to an end.
Melanie, how would you feel about paying for somebody to study? Who knows? Who the heck knows what they study in colleges anymore? You see the product coming out.
Advanced basket weaving, you know, social justice degrees, all these
social
different
justice warrior. That's what I made
kinds of degrees that they have. And the panelist that was speaking before me kind of didn't take my talking point, but said what I was going to say.
Tom, why'd you do that?
I know, how dare you? Aside from the fairness factor that was pointed out by the other panelists, it's highly inflationary, and it just attacks onto the spending that this government has been doing outrageously, and then is going to say that their economic plan is so wonderful. You cannot keep spending that way, not to mention that it's leading to a very communistic state. We're going to get to a point where the government is going to control everything in our lives, and I kind of think that that's the plan in the long run, at least from a leftist point of view.
That's why I said this won't stop. It's not like, this is going to be a one-time trade-off, and then other kids are going to go to college and come out and say, well, hold on. Where's my bailouts? Well, I should have one because they got one.
Do my car.
Yep.
My
car
house.
now. I know.
My car. Yeah. Don't stop with my college loans. Keep going, baby.
Keep it going. Keep it dangerous. That's what they'll be ushered into, an era of this, and think it's normal. Let's talk the economy, Hogan, though, real quick. Trump, Vance on the economy. Stock market, they're both saying down big today. It's down all over the world. Our unemployment numbers, a lot of people, I don't know if you know this, back to the levels of October 2021. And last week, I fact-checked, since she's been named the nominee, Kamala Harris has not mentioned the word inflation one time since she's been on the campaign trail. That's the biggest issue for voters. You can look up Gallup. It's #1.
Yeah, and in Atlanta, she goes on that stage and says, hey, we fixed the economy. We are great at the economy. And then she says, you know, the American people are suffering. They're having a tough time paying for gas and for groceries. Oh, but only had you been in a position of power to address this at all for the last 4 years. Oh, that's right, you were. And you failed at every turn. In fact, the American people are getting kicked in the teeth because of those bad policies. And this stock market is a horrible day. It crashed. It could go back up tomorrow. You never know with the stock market. But what I do know is that inflation is not transitory like they said it was going to be. Then they tried to tell us it was good for us. The fact is the American people are paying more for gas and groceries than they ever were before, for house payments, car payments. Everything they're doing costs more, and it's because of Biden-Harris. We have to keep pointing that out to the American people.
Well, that's what the rate has come down. We're still not at the target of 2%. And then you go out to try and buy anything, a house, big purchases, cars, but the little things, it all adds up. It's almost like double when gas, I looked that up today. It's crazy. It doesn't feel good in the American people. You know, the middle class, we're the ones bearing the brunt here, but that's what it is for now. Hogan Gidley, Tom Delbacaro, thank you both for coming on, gentlemen. Good to see you. Melanie, Collette, thank you for joining us on set today and being our guest. Stop back soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.